Was it one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind? Or one of the most enduring conspiracy theories of all time?
Since 1969, the moon landing has remained a source of contention. Several specialists and well-known personalities, including Elon Musk, have made some fascinating comments more than 50 years later. Why is the moon landing still hotly discussed today? What is Elon Musk's take on whether the government lied to us? On today's episode, we'll look at why Elon Musk believes people don't realize the moon landing was a mistake. For as long as we can remember, humanity has been fascinated by the enormous universe of space beyond our planet. And what better place to begin than on the moon? The first plans to land on the moon were made in 1960. Initially, the plan was to send a 3-person mission to orbit the moon rather than land on it. The hope of landing a man on the moon before 1970 had culminated in the heart of America during then-President John F. Kennedy's famous speech in 1962. And Kennedy's dream did come true when the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, took his first steps in 1969. But achieving this vision required a lot of hard work and sacrifice. The government had to attract the greatest brains and professionals to work on this project, and a lot of money was poured into it. Yet the first mission was a flop. The Apollo 1 mission was NASA's first attempt to send astronauts to the moon. It featured Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee as astronauts. Unfortunately, these individuals were killed when a fire broke out in the spacecraft's command module, destroying everything. The mission was a failure. NASA was forced to launch a series of investigations concerning the disaster, as well as significantly rebuild the command module. They eventually agreed that adding another launch vehicle to carry the main payload would be the best option. The ensuing lunar module missions from Apollo 4 to 9 were all about testing the newly enhanced ship and adding new features. There were no Apollo 2 or 3 missions. This is because these early missions appeared to be a carbon copy of Apollo 1, but with no crew on board. As a result, NASA chose to exclude them from the numbering. The Apollo 10 mission was a watershed moment in this journey. It was the 4th human space travel mission in the Apollo program, and the crew successfully circled the moon and returned without incident. The Apollo 10 mission laid the groundwork for Apollo 11. The main distinction is that the astronauts did not set foot on the moon. Scientists had studied and learned so much about the moon at this point that they could forecast how the moon's surface and weather conditions would feel, and they replicated these characteristics and scenarios to train astronauts before sending them to the moon. Telescopes, space probes, and satellites had already provided us with a plethora of information about the moon, but nothing compared to landing on the moon and taking samples from there. These trial Apollo missions helped NASA determine what it would take to get men to the moon and back. So when Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin set foot on the moon, it marked a historic occasion that was celebrated across the world. The great success of Apollo 11 motivated NASA to launch subsequent lunar missions, and it also inspired other global leaders to attempt their own moon landings. These astronauts' images and films from the Apollo missions have long since gone viral and never get old. However, since the initial voyage, other unexplained events and conspiracy theories have emerged. In addition, other whistleblowers' information was leaked. One of these many conspiracy theories is that the moon landing was set up and never occurred. As strange as this may sound, there is a lot of evidence to support this. If you look at most NASA videos of astronauts on the moon, you'll notice that there are no stars in the sky. You'd agree that stars are inextricably linked to space, as evidenced by their presence in practically every NASA space probe and telescope images. But for some reason, we don't see stars in Apollo mission photos and movies. If we can see stars from Earth, shouldn't these stars be even more apparent from the moon? NASA, on the other hand, has refuted this assertion with a credible explanation. According to NASA, stars appear to be missing from the lunar photographs due to illumination conditions and the type of camera utilized at the time. The sun's brightness also made the stars appear less dazzling and invisible. Another concern raised by conspiracy theorists is the lack of a blast crater on the moon to identify the location of the Apollo craft's landing. NASA quickly refuted the claim that the layer of dust covering the moon's surface absorbed the impact of the descending spaceship, resulting in the absence of a visible crater. Over 50 years have gone since Armstrong and Aldrin first set foot on the moon, but their footprints are still visible. Other evidence found on the lunar landing site was also confirmed today. This, of course, strengthens Elon Musk's contention that the U.S. government did in fact land on the moon, and that those who promote conspiracy theories are mistaken. After Apollo 11, 6 further Apollo missions were launched. Apollo 17 was the final official Apollo mission. However, others feel that this was not the last. According to rumors, NASA continued to send humans on classified Apollo flights to the moon until Apollo 20. Some of these rumors even claim that the agency came upon alien life on the moon. While NASA has refuted these claims, they do not lend support to the moonwalking hoax notion. The Apollo 17 mission, the last Apollo mission, took place in 1972. Since then, NASA has not launched another mission to the moon, which begs the question of why it has been more than 5 decades since the lunar landing, and significant modifications have occurred on the moon landing site. The American flag put on the moon, for example, has faded significantly, despite being constructed of special material designed to endure the rigors of the moon. The objects left on the moon by the first astronauts have also been coated with fine moon dust. This concealment has made it difficult to identify the actual moon landing site when viewing the moon through telescopes or space probes. So, given the current state of affairs, it would be only natural for NASA to launch another Apollo mission to replace these items with new ones or conduct additional moon studies. This has prompted conspiracy theorists to wonder why the CIA is suddenly having difficulty landing on the moon. Certainly, technology has improved significantly since the 1960s. So why not? NASA should have the capability to land as many people as possible. Well, NASA experts have explained that the agency isn't planning any lunar missions for the same reason. Technology is now so good that we can observe the moon perfectly with our space probes and telescopes like James Webb, so why waste millions of dollars sending people to the moon? Scientists at NASA and other space agencies are more concerned with learning about other planets and parts of our cosmos. And this is where resources are being poured into. The moon pebbles returned back by Neil Armstrong and his colleagues, for example, were beneficial in offering greater insight into the moon's composition. In fact, they were so precious that they were sold on the illicit market for $50,000 per gram. Another obvious reason the moonwalk cannot be a hoax is that it was broadcast live, not only in America, but also in other countries. However, broadcast technology at the time was not as sophisticated as it is now, so the Apollo camera could only produce video in monochrome SSTV format at 10 frames per second. These black and white video recordings were returned to the NASA base, but transferring them to the transmission networks was impossible for 2 reasons. First, the recording format was incompatible, and second, the videos were of poor quality. NASA had to enhance the videos and pictures from the Apollo moon mission before releasing them to the public. But radio transmissions were broadcast almost immediately thanks to a large number of radio telescopes covering the event, including the Goldstone Tracking Station in California, the Honeysuckle Creek Tracking Station, and the Parkes Observatory in Australia. This is why Elon Musk believes the Russians closely monitored and tracked the Apollo moon landing. They were curious just like the rest of the world. Elon Musk also pointed out that the Russians even went as far as congratulating the United States government on the remarkable feat, so there's no way it was a hoax. Japan and Russia have also reached the moon and back. As previously stated, evidence of the first lunar landing remains on the moon, such as the U.S. flag and plaque. If the first mission had been a hoax, the other global nations that successfully landed humans on the moon would have swiftly come forward to say so. Perhaps they would have admitted that there was no flag on the moon or footprints, but none of these countries have done so. Elon Musk emphasized this point during an interview when asked what he felt about the 1969 moon landing, further demonstrating the event's validity. Elon Musk believes that the 1969 moon landing was extremely essential and necessary for all of humanity, and that there is no doubt that it occurred. Elon Musk believes the U.S. visited the moon several times, and that if it were all fake, the Russian government would have uncovered it long ago. So what do you think? Did the US astronauts really walk on the moon's surface, or was it all a hoax? Tell us in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos. Thank you.